Putin threatens Cold War-era response to U.S. missile deployment plans, by Satori News. In a bold statement that harks back to the most tension-filled days of the Cold War, Russian President Vladimir Putin has issued a stern warning to the United States regarding its plans to deploy long-range missiles in Germany. The announcement made on July 10th, which envisions the mobilization of SM-6 missiles, Tomahawks, and developmental hypersonic weaponry by 2026, has evidently stoked the flames of geopolitical discord between the two powerhouses. President Putin, addressing an assembly of sailors from Russia, China, Algeria, and India during Russian Navy Day in St. Petersburg, suggested that such actions by the U.S. could precipitate a crisis reminiscent of the feverish standoff witnessed during the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962. With a stark reminder of the quick 10-minute flight time of these missiles to Russian targets, the Russian leader insinuated a tit-for-tat response, potentially positioning similar armaments within striking distance of Western territories. This rhetoric streams from a larger narrative, wherein Putin frames the ongoing war in Ukraine as a facet of an enduring struggle against the West. Bridging historical grievances with current apprehensions, Putin laid out Russia's stance. The territories they control, including Crimea and parts of eastern Ukraine, which encompass approximately 18% of Ukraine's sovereign land, are now integrated into the Russian state and non-negotiable. Heightening tensions between Moscow and Washington mirror the chilling diplomatic climate that overshadowed the Cuban Missile Crisis, with today's diplomats noting the strained interactions as even more acrid. Despite calls for de-escalation from both capitals, actions on the ground suggest movement towards further escalation. Putin's commentary also made historical parallels with the deployment of Pershing II missiles by NATO in 1979, a move which had then instilled grave fears within the Soviet leadership, prompting the beleaguered General Secretary Yuri Andropov to perceive precursors to a preemptive strike by the West. With history as a potent backdrop, Putin has articulated the possibility of reinitiating the production of Russia's intermediate and shorter-range nuclear-capable missiles, an ominous forewarning to the potential battlegrounds that Europe and Asia could transform into should the U.S. proceed with the missile deployment. This looming crisis underscores the delicate balance of power and trust that frames U.S.-Russian relations and accentuates the critical need for careful diplomatic navigation in an era where the specter of the Cold War seems not so distant. Thank you for choosing Satori News.